Blog Talk Radio.
Warning, the following program may include profane language, controversial viewpoints, and perspectives on the true nature of reality so far removed from the status quo, they'll make your head spin like a top. Young children, corporate executives, and religious fundamentalists should turn away now.
What's up, brothers and sisters? Welcome to Extraordinary Year, an online show that puts everyday people like you with questions about 2012 on the road to understanding. I'm Tim Bravo, and I'm glad you've joined us tonight, 225 days until December 21st, 2012. With me is my good buddy, Matt Steiny-Lawless. And remember, if you like the show, check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/extraordinaryyear and like us there too. In fact, you should head over there right now while you're listening because we've got links posted to all kinds of great recent stuff, some of which we'll be talking about at the end of the show if we have time. And real quick, upcoming guests, I want to remind listeners next week we'll sit down with Michael Murphy, director of the chemtrail documentary, What in the World Are They Spraying?, about the new one coming out called Why in the World Are They Spraying? But tonight, our guest is Dr. Joe Marra, who went from being a general family practitioner in Pennsylvania to offering traditional medicine plus holistic health modalities in New Mexico, a man who was raised a Roman Catholic who now spends much of his free time educating people about a broader spiritual reality. We're going to talk with Dr. Marra about the journey that led him to where he is today and get his outlook on what's happening on this planet right now. His website is universaltalk.info. As always, we invite you, the listener, to call us with your questions and comments live at the number you'll find at the top of the episode page, 858-956-2147. And remember, you can also post questions and talk amongst yourselves in our chat room on the episode page. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Dr. Joseph Marra. Doc, how you doing tonight? Doc, you out there? Uh-oh. Yeah, I've got you. Doc, you hear us? Well, this is a predicament. Okay, two callers. He's in the queue. And Dr. Marra, do we have you now?
I'm here.
Yay! Woo! And everybody breathes a sigh of relief. Awesome. Okay, well, hey, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, other than these technical difficulties that's going on here.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, well, it's all behind us now, so let's move on. In our introduction, I was talking about how your life has led you from Pennsylvania to New Mexico, and so I was hoping maybe you could give us an overview of the road that took you from where you were to where you are, and how you're now focusing a bit more on holistic health in the Southwest.
Yeah, it's a long story, so I'll make it.
We've got an hour.
Just from just the point from my urgent care centers that I had back home in Pennsylvania. I had 3 at one time, and they were quite successful, and I had well over 6,000 patients, and over time of my research and interviews, either me being interviewed or me interviewing other people on a radio talk show that I created a few years ago called Universal Talk, it really opened my eyes and my awareness to what's really going on in the world. And eventually I got to the point where I just says, I know there's so much more out there, and I want to experience life myself, and instead of doing things that people think I should do, I wanted to follow my heart instead of my head. And so I closed up my practices, and I sold my home and all of my pretty much everything. And my girlfriend and I moved out to New Mexico, and we were heading to Santa Fe, and serendipitously we ended up in a small town a couple hours from Santa Fe because she got stuck in a snowstorm. And, of course, it was frustrating at the time, but here we ended up moving here somewhere around December 3rd, and we've been here ever since. We did travel back home to Pennsylvania and rented the biggest U-Haul they had to bring some of my stuff, a bed and my tools and stuff like that. And then we stopped in Chicago where she lived, and grabbed her things and then came out here. And I'm not sure if you said any of this at the beginning here, but half of my building was traditional medicine. I saw people for urgent care cases and family medicine, and on the other half of the building was hypnotherapy, reflexology, energy healing, and I would offer my patients a choice. I would say, this is your diagnosis, and you can do it the traditional way, and you can do these things such as medicine, and we can do labs and x-rays and MRIs, or you can take a alternative or complementary approach and do the energy healing or hypnosis, or you could do a combination of the two. And once I started practicing that way, I'll tell you, a lot of patients were open to it and they were actually requesting it. But what led me out here, I was kind of drawn out here for some reason. It was one of those things that I guess it was the spirit that drew me out here. And people seem to be a little more open here in the Southwest than the East Coast. And it's much more comfortable to live here. People are open to discussion, and the energies just feel different here. So that, in a nutshell, it kind of got me here.
Was there anything about New Mexico in particular that drew you? Or because when I think of moving to the Southwest, I think of Sedona, Arizona, stuff like that where people say the vortexes and stuff like that. So why New Mexico in particular?
You know what? It was something that we both agreed on, my girlfriend and I, and we just said, hey, let's try this out. And it's just a place we came to, and I'll tell you, this has a lot of hidden secrets here. There's a lot of vortexes here and a lot of high energy. There's volcanoes here. There's mountains, and there's desert, and there's just such a variety of landscape. And, everybody's familiar with Sedona. It's quite popular. And even Santa Fe and Albuquerque, within New Mexico, but in these smaller towns, it's pretty amazing here, and it's less commercialized, and therefore, you're not in the big city. It just has such a peaceful quality whenever you're in a smaller town.
Well, I'll bet it's probably less polluted with modernity, with all the regular folk, as it were, running around and kind of polluting the spirit of the area. So I'll bet it's quite an experience to wake up in the morning and have that sun come up over the mountains and that fresh air. And I'm a little jealous, I got to say.
Well, what's so funny is I came from central Pennsylvania where I lived in the mountains, and that's how it was there. It was a lot more lush and green, so it's totally different landscape here. The energies are a little different, and it was beautiful back home, and that's why everybody's like, why would you leave your home and your office and, everything that you have? And, some things are just unexplainable. You just have that feeling of, I want to go. And you know what? It was kind of a blessing in disguise. I left my family back there, and another thing is they weren't real open to all the things I had to talk about, and they were judgmental, and they thought I was crazy, and even my friends. So as you grow, sometimes you outgrow your family and friends, and you just have to move forward, and you can't take people with you. That was my biggest or hardest lesson. Is I wanted to show everybody and tell everybody what I've learned. And not everybody wants to hear it, and not everybody's ready to hear it.
Yeah, I can relate to that with my own family. Matt, I'm sure you can as well. By the way, Doc, we've got our co-host, Matt Steiny Lawless, is on the line as well.
Hey, Matt.
Man, I hear you, dude. I hear everything you're saying. Where do I even start? Doc, can I call you Doc? I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that fine? Doc, all right. Here's the deal. And Tim was talking about this earlier. I think we grew up very much the same. I was born and raised, Roman Catholic. Went to a Catholic school up until my, junior year of high school. And, I was brought up thinking all the same things. We're presented with this reality that in the field of medicine, I'm no doctor, but in the field of medicine, we're presented with the ideas that, you need this chemical. If something's wrong with you, you need this and it's not even with physiological issues. It's oftentimes it's sociological issues. You see all the time on TV that there's some new commercial for some prescription drug that's going to cure your depression because we're constantly told something's wrong with you. Here, take this. Never mind what's in it. Never mind, what chemicals and what, shit we put into it. Take it. It's going to make you better. And then I honestly think there's a placebo effect there. Like, if you're told that, yes, this is going to help you, is it really going to help you, or is that just something you fucking think because I told you?
Yeah, you're right on.
Yeah, when really what you need is a higher spiritual understanding of what's really wrong. Is it depression? Are you really fucking depressed, or are you just in a point where everyone's telling you you've got a fucking problem?
Well, and speaking of,
been over this, but
I'm sorry. I want to give Doc a chance to respond to that.
There is a placebo effect and here's how I look at it. Thought becomes reality. So anything that you think of, you can create. The only reason we can't create it is because we've been told we can't. Ever since we've been little, whether it be our parents' influence or the educational system or medicine or the media, and all of it's been controlled to control us. And once you dig deep and you start following the money trail and you start finding out where the control is, you find out that there's like 13 families that run this planet, and then you follow the money, and then you follow the control. And how come all this stuff isn't on mainstream medicine or mainstream TV or mainstream radio? And then you find out that it's controlled. And a lot of people think this is conspiracy, but I'll tell you what, the oddest thing is I'm practicing family medicine, right? And I have patients that come into my office that are FBI, CIA, underground base guys, guys that come back from the military, like from Afghanistan or Iraq, and they're telling me a totally different story than what you're being told on the the mainstream TV or the mainstream radio. And so you paint a different picture of what's really going on. And so you hear it right from these people that have life's experience, not what you've been, BS, from birth on. And then you do further research, and, that's why I developed that radio show, Universal Talk, because I started talking to these guys, and these are astronauts and doctors and lawyers and nurses and people that are credible, that have a story to tell. Yeah, they're credible, and these are real people that have real experiences, and you're not told about any of these things. And you know what? You're not trained in medicine when you're going through school to deal with these things, nor are you trained to deal with near-death experiences or people that are psychic. You're pretty much taught to say, okay, they're crazy, give them this medicine, instead of really listening to them and hearing their story and truly finding out, that they actually have a gift.
Doc, I hear you. Can I give my 2 cents for a second? Like, I feel you. You're talking about people that, engineers and soldiers and people that come back from horrible places in their lives, and they come back with, scenarios that you couldn't even dream of, and problems, whether it be sociological, physiological, or psychological, whatever the case may be, but they're coming back with these issues, and then, can I assume for a second that as a family practitioner you were approached by representatives from various pharmaceutical companies that said, here, use our product, use our medicine because it's going to help these people, and you were approached by them?
Absolutely. Every day.
Yeah, and can I be correct in assuming that these companies, these pharmaceuticals? I mean, look at the leading profits in this country right now. Look at the most profitable companies. You have
ExxonMobil,
pharmaceuticals at the top. I mean, it might go petrochemicals, and then tobacco, and then pharmaceuticals. But, I mean, it's top 3. There's no doubt about it, right? Yeah. You have these companies, these fucking parasitic, vampiric companies that they suck the life out of everyone by convincing them that they need, that this is what they need. You need to burn oil in your car. You need my tobacco because it makes you relax. You need my medicine because it's going to cure whatever ailment you have. When really there was no ailment to begin with. You know, there was no energy shortage to begin with. I mean,
Matt, could you put a little passion into it, buddy? You're just kind of flat.
Sorry, what?
Could you put a little passion into it? You're just kind of flat tonight.
I'm sorry.
I'm pulling your leg. Doc, I'm glad you brought up near-death experience, and that's actually one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because you had a near-death experience, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us how that happened and what happened while you were back home?
Well, this happened whenever I was in college, and I was an RN at the time, and me and 2 of my buddies were driving. It was probably, 1 o'clock in the morning, and we come around this sharp turn, and it was all ice, and, before I knew it, my truck, which was only maybe a year old, it was a little Ford Ranger extended cab 4-wheel drive. We left the road, and somehow we launched over this culvert, which I don't know how we did that. First of all, it was all encased in, stone, and we should have, the way gravity would pull you down into it. I thought we would have been in there first, and that would have killed us, but somehow we went over it into this yard, and the yard was maybe, I don't know, it's hard to say now because this was back in, this was a while ago. Anyway, we ended up in this yard, and it was probably, I'm guessing, maybe 50 to 100 yards, I'm guessing. And the next thing I know, it was like slow motion, and then there was no time. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, the first thing that came to mind is I'm praying to a higher power saying, please don't injure the passengers, my friend who was beside me and my cousin who was on the far side. It's not their fault. This is my mistake. I shouldn't have been going around this turn and whatever. And the next thing you know, we hit this solid block wall with no windows, and the lentil or the header that goes across should have taken our heads off, first of all, and we ended up in this garage. I pushed the car that was in there was kind of in the back of the pickup truck in the bed, and it was almost pushed out the back of this garage. And how we didn't die, we all walked out of there. But my cousin did have a fractured left wrist because he put his hand up to shield his face, and he hit the windshield and fractured his wrist. But other than that, that's the only thing that happened to us. But in the moment, there was no time. It was the weirdest thing. But the impact, see, a lot of people, know about the near-death experience that you just leave your body because of an event. And then there's the white light and the tunnel, and you go down it. But there's another form of near-death experience that it's a major event or traumatic event that has an impact on the physical body. And when that happens, it takes about 10 years of your life to fully develop, I guess you could say. And I believe it was 1998 that this happened. And over those 10 years, I think that was a pivotal point in my life and my wake up and what catapulted me into this knowing that I eventually came out with. And I just knew things, and I just have the answers to these higher spiritual things. And even when I'm speaking, at the end of it, I'm like, wow, that sounded really good. Where the hell did that come from?
Doc, hold on. Tim, Doc. All right. I'm sorry, because the whole time you were just explaining that, that reminded me, honestly, and no bullshit here, I'm 100% serious. You talk about a near-death experience and how most people, describe it as, the white light, the tunnel, et cetera, et cetera. But honest to God, I think I had the exact same experience you had. And it wasn't the white light. It was more of a tunnel, or not a tunnel. I'm sorry. It was more of a time stopped for a second. And I looked down. I didn't even look down. It was just time stopped. Man, I sound like a fucking crackpot here.
What happened, Matt?
Okay, I'm gonna go through the story here if we got time. This was back, I want to say 3-4 years ago, and this is my rebellious years, I'll be honest. And it was me and a few buddies. We were driving down a dirt road. Hell, we're in Kansas. That's what we country boys do.
Were you in a Ford Ranger?
No, I was actually in a Ford Escort. Ford Escape. I'm sorry. But it was a Ford. Anyway, we're driving down this dirt road, and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, right? Pitch black, middle of nowhere. And we thought it was a good idea that, hey, we'd save some time, and we'd turn off our lights, our headlights, when we came up to an intersection, and we'd look and see if there were any headlights coming through that intersection, so we didn't have to stop. Which was a completely juvenile, dumb fucking idea in retrospect, but we did it anyway, right? So we turned off our lights, and we didn't see any headlights coming, from the other direction, and we decided to run the stop sign. And we get about halfway through this intersection, and I swear to God, this car appears literally out of nowhere. That sounds like a cliche, but this car appeared out of nowhere. And believe me when I tell you that time literally stopped for me. Like, it felt like 5 minutes that we were in this intersection, and I was literally staring someone in the face. The driver of this car, I was staring at them in the face with just the most profound look on both of us. Like, we met eyes, and the realization was, oh, we're going to die. Both of us. And this is the kicker. We miss them by inches, literally inches. And we swerve a bit, we gain control, and we pull over to the side of the road. And at this point, all of our hearts are just racing. And we get out of the car, and we go and look for this other car, and it's gone. Like, just gone.
Huh.
I don't.
So that was 3 or 4 years ago. Sounds like you got another 5 years or so until your higher powers might kick in their matrix.
Dude, I don't know. I sound like crackpot, don't I?
No, well,
this is the closest thing to a near-death experience I can imagine. And it was literally
what you
like
experienced probably was stepping outside of your physicalness, and because that's what it's basically on the other side or in a higher dimension, especially like the fifth dimension. There is no time there. We look at it here in a linear way because of calendars, because of clocks. That's another way we've been controlled, and how we have to worry about a schedule and going to work and all these other things. And in these higher dimensions, it's just not there.
I agree.
That's cool.
Hey, Doc, I don't know if you've heard this because, like I said, we've both grown up Catholic, but I heard an old proverb, and it's basically along the lines of, understanding the concept of eternity, and that's something as human beings that you can't even fathom eternity. But there was a proverb that tried to put it in layman's terms, which I love to do. I love layman's terms. But it basically said that, imagine a bird, and imagine a mountain made of diamonds, just pure diamonds. And every, 10 million years, this bird goes to this mountain, and he sits on top of it, and he takes one peck. He just pecks at it once, and then flies away, never to return for another 100 million years or whatever. And every 100 million years, this bird comes back, and he takes one peck at the top of this mountain. And then by the time that mountain of diamonds has withered away to dust, is not but one millisecond in eternity, in this fifth dimension that you can't even fucking realize.
That's not in the Bible, I don't think.
No, it's not in the Bible. I don't even think it's a proverb. It's just something I heard, which I personally related to my spirituality as, you know, it's a higher dimension, dude. It's something you don't understand. It's something nobody understands. The concept of eternity, of infinity.
Well, I think it might be better to look at it as a concept of no time, as opposed to endless time.
Right. I don't know.
I want to get back to Dr. Marra's, some of the stuff that I've been busy reading up and checking bios and stuff, and I watched the bio you have on your YouTube channel, and in that you mentioned you hired a woman while in Pennsylvania, I believe, who could do what you guys discovered she was able to do, what you call deep channeling. Can you tell us, one, how you discovered that, and you know, two, the sorts of things that you learned from it?
Oh my God. This is another source of information, and where my knowledge is right now, or my awareness or my consciousness comes from a lot of this. I don't know, have you guys, I'm sure you've heard of Edgar Cayce, right?
Yeah, my next question was, is her channeling like Edgar Cayce, where the higher self extracts information directly from the Akashic records, or is it more of the stepping aside for another entity kind of channeling?
Both. And that's what this experience was all about. When she came into, here was the thing, this was another thing that was serendipitous in my life. It was 2008, and I decided to go back for my doctorate, and I got in, but I wasn't able to start until the fall instead of, January in the spring. So I had some time that I was always challenging myself, and I was kind of bored, I'm doing this family medicine. I only had 3 practices. I was doing drug and alcohol rehab on the side, and I mean, it was a lot of stuff I was doing, but I just was like, what else can I do, So I thought, I'd love to be a hypnotherapist. I always wanted to do that, and I also wanted to do some energy healing. And long story short, because this is a long story about the energy healing thing, but I became a Reiki master. I also became a hypnotherapist, a certified hypnotherapist, in the beginning of 2008. And in a thought, I'm like, how am I going to add this modality to my family practice / urgent care center? I have a whole other half of a building that I could put it in, but I can't personally do it because I'm seeing somebody every 10 to 15 minutes for other ailments. And I can refer them over there, and I really wanted to help transition medicine and give my patients a choice rather than all this traditional medicine. There's other things that are out there. So it was helpful because I was able to do it, and therefore I knew what my patients would be receiving, and I knew it was a real deal because I was personally doing it. But I didn't have the time to do it. So in a thought, I'm like, how am I going to do this? It was the end of the day, and I just got certified and all this stuff, and all of a sudden, it was like the second to the last person of the day, and I'm walking out with the chart, walking the patient out, and a lady standing there handing her card to my receptionist saying, hey, if he ever needs anything for smoking cessation, I'm a hypnotherapist, and so, before I had a chance, I turned around and I'm walking about 3 steps, and I had one patient left, and I ran back out there. I said, listen, if you have a few minutes, just have a seat there, and I'm going to see this last patient, and then we can chat about this, because I really would like to, refer my patients to you. So she said, yes, okay, I have some time. I saw that last patient in a flash. I don't even remember the visit, to be honest with you, and I ran out there and I talked to her, and we talked for like 4 hours, and it was like I knew this lady my whole life. She was that familiar to me. And instead of me referring my patients to her, I said, why don't I just hire you for my practice? You can open up, here and build a practice within a practice, so to speak. And so she started that, and I was referring patients for smoking cessation and, hypnotherapy for depression and anxiety. And the next thing you know, and through conversation, she says, oh, you know what? Somebody told me I'm a spontaneous channel. And I've had these events in my life where I don't even remember a whole day or 2 days of my life.
Dang.
And people are just saying, giving me hugs saying, oh, my God, I know God sent you to me. and she didn't understand what was going on. And then she was doing this thing called automatic writing. She'd start writing, and all of a sudden her handwriting would change, and she would start writing things that she didn't verbalize, like she didn't use these particular words. And she was like, boy, I don't know where this is coming from. It must be spiritual. So, long story short, again, I says, well, let's research this. Man, I'm really into this. This is cool stuff. So every day at lunchtime and every day after work, almost twice a day, like an hour or 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours a day, we were doing this. We were channeling. And she would get into, a comfortable position, just like, she'd lay down on a Reiki table. It'd be just like Edgar Cayce is the best way I can put it. And then, within a few minutes, she starts channeling, and we went the whole way up from, say, the astral realm, the whole way up into these higher dimensions, fifth dimension and up. And we called upon these, the Andromedans and the Syrians and the Arcturians and the Mantis and all these particular beings, these archangels would come through, and you could tell their personality would change. So some people don't buy this stuff, but, here it is right in front of me. I'm trained as a scientist, so I shouldn't be believing in this, but there it is. And it's coming up with this information that would come to pass. It was like premonitions, it was predictions, it was all about humanity's ascension, the Earth's ascension, us going into a higher dimension in this 2012. It's not truly about, it's not truly about us, going out in a ball of flames and dying and all this stuff that, the doom and gloom people are saying. Now, however, there is a caveat to it. There's variables in this whole thing that I learned, and one of which is thought becomes reality. So if you align yourself with a negative timeline and you keep looking at, earthquakes and volcanoes and, oh, my God, we're going to die soon, and the doom and gloom, guess what? What you put out, because the law of attraction, is what you attract back to yourself. So that's the experience that you're going to have, and that's why I've always told people once I've learned all this information is, you know what, align yourself with the positive timeline or the positiveness of life, and you'll attract more of that to yourself, and it's a much easier transition and experience.
Wow, Tim, that sounds so much like you. Everything about that just sounded everything like what you've been talking about, dude.
Well, and that's really the important stuff that I've been really trying to hammer into our listeners, Dr. Marra, is to think positively and to look at the positive outlook for Ascension. And so I'm glad that you opened that up, because I really want to know personally just what your take is on this year that we're in. The name of the show is Extraordinary Year for a reason. We started it up this year, and it's about this year, and all the prophecies seem to really point to an event toward the end of this year. I'm really curious, what sort of material came through while she was playing Sleeping Prophet?
Well, it's hard to remember everything and the dates and all that kind of stuff of what she was saying back then, but, I'll get to that in a second. I just want to say one other thing is there's two types of channels. There's a closed channel and there's an open channel, and she can do both now. At the time, she could only be like a closed channel, and it would be like in the movie Ghost, where Whoopi Goldberg, she kind of sets her ego aside and allows Patrick Swayze's personality or ego to come through.
Right.
If you've seen that movie. I mean, it's an old movie. But anyway, that's basically what she would do, and it's my easiest way of describing it. So that's a closed channel. And she could channel the astral realm, so she could channel like a person that had passed on, a family member. She could channel an archangel. And basically, at will, you name the person, and that person comes through, or that being comes through. And then there's an open channel, whereas this is what I've been told I am, because the information, like I was telling you before, that just flows out of me, and I'm just like, where the heck did that come from? Wow, that sounds good. That is an open channel, and a lot of us have that. In fact, everybody on the planet has these abilities, We just don't know it. We've been told we're these dumb little monkeys that just do work here and we're worthless, and that's another thing. People need to go within and know their true value, love themselves unconditionally. And once they go within and they love themselves, that expression goes outward, and that's what you express out. And again, law of attraction, you attract more of it to yourself. So anyway, sorry, I'm trying to keep this all straight because there's so much information I want to give you here. But what's happening this year, it's not going to be an event that happens at the very end of this year, in my opinion. We're going through this now. These energetic changes, because basically everything, including us and everything around us, is energy. From a higher perspective, that's how these beings look at us, through energy. We have this sense of sight that basically is limited. And if you look at the visual human spectrum, it's just such a narrow band on each side of it. On one side there's X-rays, on the other side there's infrared, ultraviolet, and just because we can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? I mean,
that sounds like something we've said frequently on this show.
Well, there's microscopes that were developed, in like 1590 or something, and before that we didn't realize that microorganisms were in existence, but now we can physically see them through a tool. Well, it's one of those things I like to say, that just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I agree 110%. And this is something I've brought up that Tim, I know you can vouch for me. Hold on, my nickname here is Steiny because I keep bringing up Einstein, and one of my favorite quotes from Einstein is the fact that
Hold up.
Reality is merely a perception.
Hold up, Matt. Hold up.
Okay.
Und jetzt seid ihr Einstein.
Go.
All right. I can't quote it verbatim right now because I don't have it in front of me. But Einstein said basically reality is a perception, and everything you perceive is merely an illusion. It's what you can make out with your feeble mind. These perceptions of, yes, the light spectrum. Like visible light is just one aspect of what's out there, and we as humans can see with our eyes just the visible light spectrum. We can only hear between a certain amount of frequency,
20 hertz and 20,000 hertz
sound wave. I'm sorry, what?
20 hertz and 20,000 hertz.
Right. So if we can only perceive.
Okay.
So picture us
where I'm going with this, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We are multi-dimensional, powerful beings. If we're made in the image of God, or we're the spark of light, or the spark from God, that makes us gods in of itself. So we're all powerful beings. We just don't know it. And I think we come here I think we're spiritual beings living out a human experience. And that's the reason why we're here, is to raise in our consciousness, to kind of check ourselves maybe, so to speak. And we have these five senses to traverse this world this thing we call life.
Yeah.
And we limit ourselves. We limit ourselves with these five senses because basically, what I always say, if I knew I was a powerful being and I dropped down into this three-dimensional density, this thick and dense and all this crap that's going on, if I knew I was a powerful being that could be anywhere, anytime, you can bet your ass I wouldn't be here. I'd be out of here somewhere in bliss, So there's reasons why we are here, and we are limited. We actually limited ourselves. And we also have these contracts, if you will, that we decided to incarnate into each lifetime. And I'm going to meet you, Tim, whenever I just turned 40. And Matt, you're going to be on this show with me, and we're going to be discussing these things, and we're going to help humanity raise in their consciousness through our efforts and what we've learned. And this is a contract that was predestined. It was something prior to incarnation, and we lived thousands of lives. So, this is way out of the range of the religions that, at least the Catholicism that I was raised in. And
Doc, I hear you.
What's going to happen is in this year, these things are this is the unveiling. Revelations is nothing more than an unveiling of our true self, our power within, who we truly are as a species. And we limit ourselves as by saying we're just the physicalness, but we're so much more than that. And that's what all came out. You're asking me what the 2012 is about? That's what it's about. It's about how powerful we are. And you know what? This doesn't ring true to everybody. And you know what? If there's any spiritual teacher that you're listening to that says, follow me, I know the way, you better run. So what I wanted to say as a clause in here is, if this doesn't ring true to you, then either you're above where I'm at in my perspective as we're talking about, or you're below. You're not ringing at my vibration. Don't listen to me. Go somewhere where you are attracted to and it sounds right to you, if that makes sense.
Doc, I feel you, and I want to elaborate, if I may, because, I mean, again, I want to bring up that we were both brought up in that traditional Catholic, Roman Catholic background. And I want to go into this because you were talking about pre-1500s. We didn't know about microorganisms. We didn't know that there were life forms below us, like on the microscopic level. And there's in middle school I had this teacher, this science teacher, and he would tell me that the Kansas state statutes said we're going to teach evolution because that's what the Kansas Board of Education says we need to teach, but I'm not going to teach that because, I'm going to follow creationism. As it says in the Bible, 7 earth days is what the earth was created in, and this, that, and the other. But then, you have, the conservative Christian viewpoint that, you have these two you have creationism and evolution, and I think that really the true reality is a mesh of the two. Does that make sense? Like,
I'm not sure where you're going there, Matt.
I don't know where I'm going either. Like, creationism.
Well, you're right though, in a way. In a way, you're right. And as far as in my perspective now, in your own perspective, you're right, because that's your truth. And this is another thing was my hardest thing to. I thought that once I found the truth, I thought it was going to be like math. 1 + 1 is 2. And when I figure all this out, I'm going to tell everybody. But you know what? We talked about perspective earlier, and there is so much more, and it depends on your level of awareness, because you know what? My truth is different today than it was 2 weeks ago, because I'm constantly growing and learning in my consciousness, and things that I thought were ridiculous 5 years ago, I'm in alignment with today, and I'm like, oh my God, I used to think people were crazy that thought this, and here I am believing in this because it's right in front of me. So now I'm becoming more and more enlightened. So that's why you shouldn't judge anybody. You should actually see them in compassion. And even the people that, we're talking about religions here, I think it has a place. Because if you are a mass murderer and you find religion and it brings you out of that state of negativity or that lower vibratory frequency, that's a good thing. But I don't think that's the be-all, end-all. I think that once you get to a certain point that you're like, oh, wait a minute, it brought me to this point, but you know what, I think there's more. And it's time to spread my wings and go further and higher.
And you no longer need the all-or-nothing believer go-to-hell business.
Right. But you know what, it does have its place, so I don't want to knock it, and I don't want to judge it either. I see it in compassion because it brought me to a place where I'm at today as far as prayer, because man, they teach you how to pray. I mean, you concentrate, and that's what your intent is, and that's how miracles happen. It's not the denomination of the church that creates the miracle. It's the people in the church praying for the same thing at the same time. The energy that goes out is what creates the miracle. And that's the two biggest secrets that were hidden from us are how powerful we are as an individual, but even more so how magnified that is as a collective. When we get together to pray for something, that's how we make miracles.
Hold on. Do you think I'm going to be a skeptic here, and I don't mean to be because I am deeply spiritual. I really am. But, I mean, you talk about a group of people getting together to pray. Do you think the majority of those people actually do have a common goal? Do you think they're actually praying for the same thing? Or are they, just reciting words that they have?
Why do you think the church created the liturgy? A liturgy is basically, getting everybody on the same page. So maybe there's something to creating a liturgy.
Yeah, that's what it should be. But honestly, and this is where I've grown away from the Catholic faith, and I don't like myself for it. I do see myself as a deeply spiritual person, but too many times throughout my Catholic career, I guess if you want to call it that, I've seen people who go to church. They go every Sunday religiously, and they sit there and they recite. That's the best way I can put it. They recite things. They don't necessarily believe it. They recite it because they feel they have to, and they feel it's a necessity. I hear you. Biased about it.
I was there. I remember it. It was one of those things that my mother, she would drag me kicking and screaming to church and to CCD.
Right.
I didn't buy into it, and I didn't like it. I knew there was something greater. I didn't know what it was because in Catholic school, you're taught that if you don't go to church, you're going to hell and you're going to burn and all this other stuff. So it's a fear factor. It's a control thing that was put before us to control us.
That's a good way to put it.
And that's the other secret that's out there, that we are all controlled through fear. So there's love, and on the other end, it's fear. And we live in this dualistic world, this 3D of hot, cold, good, bad, up, down, that's for this experience. And without opposition, there's no growth. So that's another reason why I see all the people that we could be bad-mouthing here tonight, I don't see them in judgment. I see them in compassion, because I may have been there this last lifetime being the bad guy, but being a wall or an opposition as a pushback for that other person's spiritual growth. So that's what this whole thing is about. It's about spiritual growth. It's about consciousness. And we should see other people in compassion. We should see ourselves in compassion. See everybody in unconditional love, including ourselves.
That's a great perspective, Doc. You really, with the whole pushback thing. Guys, real quick, I want to bring in somebody who's been on the line for a while. He's been waiting to get a word in edgewise. Hated Patriot.
Hey, how's it going?
If you would turn down your radio a little bit, or your whatever you're listening through. There you go. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I'm good. I just put on my headphones there to fix it up. I'm great. How are you guys? Been enjoying the conversation?
Awesome. You have a question for Dr. Marra, or you have some comments?
Yeah. I had a couple of comments, because I've just been thinking about how all this works, and we've been talking a lot about, or you guys have been talking a lot about vibrationals and all the spiritual stuff. Something that Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Something that goes on with me personally is that where I'm at, I work with NORML, National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. I'm big on anti-drug prohibition. My state just passed this week medical marijuana. We're the 17th state up in Connecticut now, which I see it as good. And I wanted to ask the doctor, how does he see visionary plants, as Graham Hancock puts them, in perspective of all this? And will it not matter once we become fourth dimensional? And if there's time, I have a follow-up about what you were talking about with the law of attraction a minute ago.
So let's, Dr. Marra, why don't you go ahead and answer that first question on visionary plants?
I think anything that was indigenous to this earth can't be a bad thing. I think it has its place. I think that the restrictions on it were nothing more than control. The same with anything and everything else that is a pushback to us, and the legal system in general. How can they legalize alcohol that does a similar thing? It's not the people, or it's not the alcohol that causes the DUI accident. It's the people that were irresponsible, and the same with marijuana. Now we're finding that it's medicinal or whatever. I think it's ridiculous. The indigenous people on this planet have used it forever. And for us to make it illegal, it was either to make money or to control people from tapping into their higher self, or the opening up their pineal gland, so to speak. And it absolutely has a place. But as you were saying about the fourth dimension, I think we're already in the fourth dimension right now. And again, this is the 2012 phenomenon is a process. We're in the Ascension process. It's not something that's going to happen at the end of the year, this magical date where we're going to snap, because the way vibration works is to try to reach these higher dimensions. It's a process. You're downloaded a little bit each day, and you process that, and all this crap from cellular memories, whether it be from this lifetime or other lifetimes, come up to surface. And about the time you think that you've dealt with all your stuff, something else will come up out of nowhere, and you're like, where did that come from? And that's what this is all about. You're releasing, and you're constantly raising in vibration. Now, not everybody chose to raise in this ascension process. Some of the people that are here actually want to stay, and they want to continue for the experience. Now, they may not do it on this planet, but they'll probably do it in a similar planet somewhere else. And that would be my best answer to that.
Very cool. Very cool. So you had another comment there, brother?
Yeah. Because I was just thinking, because you're talking about how, like, you know, how prayer works and all that stuff, and that's all basically law of attraction, as I understand it. Because if we are God and we're talking about God consciousness and we're part of that, co-creating, etc. Something very interesting I caught on. You guys know Drunvalo Melchizedek?
Yeah, I am aware of him.
Drunvalo Melchizedek is big on this. He says he's channeling Osiris or something like that, or some ancient ancestor, master, ascended master, or whatever. Long story short is he actually commented on that, and he said that, like, there's a problem that the law of attraction can be operated from the head or the heart. The problem is that when you use the law of attraction from the head is a polarized organ. It has a left hemisphere, right hemisphere, frontal lobe, rear lobe, and 64 divisions in total. But the heart is a singular working organ. So if you do the law of attraction from a place that is from the head, a place that is more intellectual, I guess you could say, it actually causes that polarity, because there's lots of people in this world that pray and meditate for peace and so on and so forth. And we're on the brink of World War III, or at least that's what the reptilians are trying to do. You know what I mean? But if you're doing the law of attraction from the heart, it doesn't have that polarity, and you won't get the negative, but it also changes the nature of what you're attracting to yourself. And that was something that was brought to light by him from watching a recent video he did.
Okay, so Doc, your take on that?
I would tend to agree with him, because we're in this. Well, we were in three-dimensional awareness and state of being. I think we've moved into the fourth, but nonetheless, the reason why I think we're still looking at things in a three-dimensional frame of mind is, again, thought becomes reality. We're stuck in that framework of belief that we're still where we were. We haven't seen these physical changes that are to manifest before us just yet, but they're going to happen, and we'll get into that here maybe in a little bit. But I believe that we come into this lifetime and here in this, what was 3D, with spirit and ego. And the spirit versus ego, the ego mind, or the brain, the mind versus the heart is what he's talking about and what you're talking about. And he's absolutely right. The heart is the purest. When you go within and you tap into your higher self, it's the heart center that you want to tap into. And basically what I've learned is to ask my higher self, the angels, the guides, the masters, whoever you want to call upon, what is in my greatest good and everybody that's involved that's around me. It's better to do that than to have an ego thing and say, well, you know what, I want a plane and I want it now. And you know what, and you pray through the ego mind, and it might not be in your highest or greatest good, and you'll have an ill effect from it, and that's what you're talking about, the negative side of it. You'll get it through law of attraction, but it might not be to your highest and greatest good or those who are around you, and you'll end up seeing the negative effects, and you'll look back again like 2020, and you'll be like, oh, God, why did I do that? Why was I so... And that's you know, talking about balancing the ego and the spirit. It's a balance, because we do live here in 3D and we require our ego. Where Eckhart Tolle and people like him, or such as him, are saying to get rid of the ego altogether. And I don't know what he's speaking about now. This was years ago whenever I was following his work. It helped lead me to where I am also. So I got to credit him with some of my awareness. But what I found is that you have to blend the ego and the spirit. It's not just getting rid of it, because it is a part of us, just like the humanness, the spirit, the mind, the emotional. There's so many components and so many variables that go into a human being.
So don't throw away the tool.
No, it's
the ego as a tool.
And absolutely, and that's what gives us our own personalized, person, and it kind of separates us, but that's what makes us unique, and it makes us feel good, and it makes the dualistic world we live in fun, because you know, man, woman, hot, cold, good, bad, all these things we've been talking about. That's what makes the experience much more challenging, and that's why we're here.
Cool. Well, Hated Patriot, brother, thanks for your questions and comments. We're under 2 minutes here, so I just kind of want to move in with a couple last questions for Dr. Marra and kind of wrap up here. So thanks for your call, buddy.
Thank you so much. It's been fantastic.
Thank you.
So, like a minute and a half left here. Doctor, any overall advice for people who are listening in as far as just living life or approaching life in the next few months or beyond?
Yeah, there's a lot of changes that are before us, and I don't put this out as far as a doom and gloom or a fear. This is a reality that we're all in, and we're in this unity consciousness right now, and we're going to be seeing a lot of changes. If you look at them from a perspective of fear, like, oh my gosh, there's a collapse in the financial system, or oh my gosh, all the computers went down, or oh my gosh, whatever happens over the next several weeks to months has to happen in order for there to be a reset. And that's what everybody's been praying for, at least most people that I know of, is like, I'm so sick and tired of this system that we're stuck in, and we're working, we can't seem to make enough to make ends meet, so to speak. And these things have to happen in order for this positive change to come. Another thing is, personally, what we were talking about earlier, go within, meditate, tap into your higher self, listen to your heart, not your head, and that's why I'm where I am today. I listen finally, and I'm telling you what, I had an ego back then. I was born and raised on a farm, and I was a macho guy, and that's how my family was and everybody around me. But, you transcend above and beyond that once you get into these spiritual realms. And again, don't listen to one particular person that says, follow me. If they ring true to you, then listen to what they have to say, but also be open to other people, and because you might be led in another direction, and it might help you raise in another awareness or consciousness.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Marra. We're over time. I'm going to assume that we're still on the air and recording, though, so I want everybody to go check out Dr. Marra's website. It's universaltalk.info. You can reach us, of course, at facebook.com/extraordinaryyear. Like us, spread the word. I want to thank Matt for hanging out with us and bringing some quality questions to the conversation. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's it for us on this 225th day before December 21st, 2012. Keep your ear to the ground and hold tight, kids. This is going to be an extraordinary year. Thank you, Dr. Marra, for hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Can we get you to come back? Because I really think there's more to talk about here.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, there's a lot, and absolutely, I'd love to come back. Just let me know.
Awesome. We're going to do this again sometime. Until then, everybody, namaste.
If I could have a moment of your sound, where are your sisters? Speak to me, brothers.